Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session today on navigating and utilizing Microsoft Copilot for educators. I'm so excited to be here today. If you are been watching with us for the morning, this is our third session. And if you are going to be watching this later, welcome to the recording of today's session. I'm going to pass it over to Dennis, who's going to do a couple of intro items. But before we pass it over, I'll just introduce myself. I am Shyla Damji. I am located in Markham, which is on the Williams Treaty, and I'm a digital literacy consultant. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers that I would be using. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it over to Dennis to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dennis Weeb. I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and I'm a technology coordinator, but I do a lot of things. But pretty much the same thing as Shyla does. Work with teachers and students, and do a lot of coding and robots and drones and all those types of things, and AI. So we've been learning a lot about AI over the last couple of years as well. And I wanted to acknowledge that I live on Treaty 1 territory. That's the ancestral home of the Anishinaabe, Inuit, and the Red River Métis, unceded territory, Dakota peoples. And it's their beautiful land. We have beautiful land up here in Manitoba, which I'm able to teach and learn and explore and share my passion and technology with you. And I share this as an act of reconciliation and gratitude for those who've gone before me. I put some pictures in there. If anybody's been to Manitoba, it's a beautiful area. Just north of Winnipeg is the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation. And they have enjoyed putting together for us, for anybody who wants to enjoy the land with them, is this beautiful boardwalk. It's done by engineers, and it's a floating boardwalk. And they have the only orchids in the world are found there. There's 23 species of orchids, and they made that available to anybody in the world free of charge to come out and check it out. So thanks again, Broken Head Ojibwe Nation, for doing that for us. And of course, if you want to see what territorial lands you are living in, please check out nativeland.ca, beautiful website created just for that purpose. And of course, Logix is hosting this amazing summit, and it's a wonderful place to go. If you ever get a chance to go to logixcanada.com, I'd appreciate it if you check out the site. They have lots of training, beautiful, and we're going to see it in a few seconds, robots and makerspace stuff like 3D printers. They do an amazing job of getting technology to educators and training educators how to use that technology for your curriculum. And of course, Logix is partnered with Microsoft, Google, Microsoft Minecraft education, beautiful website. If you haven't had any chance to do any kind of Microsoft, they do lots of training on Logix as well. Beautiful, beautiful worlds you can check out. And of course, Apple, professional learning provider as well. And I just mentioned, I think Shyla mentioned she's using Dash robots. I just got some tail robots from Logix, and you can purchase these from the Logix Academy website. On the right-hand side, closer to the bottom, are those little digital microscopes. We just got some in our school division, and they are lights out great. It's so much fun working with those in the classrooms with kids. And thank you, Microsoft, for funding this whole event. Even though it's funded by Microsoft, you'll notice that we are using AI tools from Google, from all these different other sources, and they are just willing to open this up and get educators trained in AI. So thank you again, Microsoft, for that. And of course, if you need some new devices, we have some available. These are some new low-cost devices coming out by Microsoft, the Windows 11, and you can see them there. And feel free to check out the link below. And we'll be posting links on the chat a little bit later as we get going. Oh yes, CS Ed Week coming up. I think it's the December 9th to 13th, I want to say. I think that's when it's when we have the CS week. And of course, Logix Academy is doing a plethora of sessions there. AI is probably one of them. There's some Minecraft stuff. The Tomato Sphere is amazing. If you haven't had a chance to work in Minecraft, that is a really good starting point for your students and teachers. Check that out. You can see the links there available. And Shyla, it's all yours. Take it away and tell us more about Copilot and how we can use it in our classrooms.
Thank you so much, Dennis, and thank you everybody who is joining us today. So we are going to explore Microsoft Copilot for educators. And if you're not familiar with Microsoft Copilot, it is a learning management model, large language model that we are going to be one of the ones that we're going to be talking about today. But feel free to explore any of the ones that you're familiar with as well throughout this session, because that will help as well. So our plan today is to talk about what is Copilot and generative AI. So it doesn't matter if you are new to Copilot or you are using it. We're going to talk a little bit more about ways that you can use it for yourself as educators, and we're also going to explore more uses of the particular tool itself. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the responsible use of AI as well, just because, if it is a relatively new tool in the education. It's been around for a while, but it's still a relatively new tool. So we're going to talk about the responsible use of AI, and then we're going to actually do some demos with AI to be able to talk about ways in which you can do it. So welcome. Thank you for people that are waving to us in the chat and who are saying hello. So in the chat, and if you're not familiar with the live stream, there should be a chat box to your right side. So in the chat, I'd just like you to take a moment to share how you're currently using AI to support teaching and learning. We would love to hear about your current experience or anything that you have done that you found to be innovative in the ways in which you're using AI in your classrooms or for yourself. I know in the summer when I was planning a Disney trip for my family and myself, I used AI to narrow down the resort that we were going to stay at in Orlando,
Oh,
Florida, because there were so many options. And
that's awesome.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I couldn't pick, and I was going through, and so I put in our needs as a family, and then what we were looking for and what we needed, and how many people were going, and then it narrowed down some resources for us. And I'm seeing here that Maureen also mentions that they are now have access to Copilot for staff. So woo woo. Our school
Yay.
board as well is staff access. We currently don't have access for students at this moment in our school district board. So this session particularly, we're going to focus on educator and educator use and how you can use it. So hopefully you find something that you can take away with it. Dennis, I don't know if you wanted to share some ways that you've been using Copilot.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned the travel because my wife and I were looking for. I'm recently married. Well, 4 years ago we've been married, so I'm on my second marriage, and we were looking for a place to go for a holiday, and we found, and I went to. We use Gemini. I'm a Google guy, but it doesn't really make any difference because we'll find that Copilot, Gemini, all very similar things. But anyway, we put in we put in some prompts for traveling, and we got amazing sites, ticket, flights, all that kind of stuff. Prices is amazing what it can do. So that was one of the things. So just like you did, we did the same kind of thing. So it's fairly recent in my mind. So I kind of chuckle when you said you did the same thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So we've used it both in our personal life, and then today we're going to share ways that we've used it in school as well. I know somebody mentioned that they want to learn about, creating access for efficiencies for communication. So we'll definitely talk about that today. And then I know the age limit that did come up in one of the other sessions. I think they're still trying to work around, data and privacy and what does this look like for our students.
Yeah.
So I know at one point I believe it was 13 plus, but I think they have switched back to 18 plus now. So I think they are, as my understanding as well, we're also waiting for that possibility of 13 plus version for Copilot in our school board. So this particular AI, and Dennis and myself, we're just playing with this right now. But this been around for a while, but it's also continuously changing. So things that we're learning with each and every single day have changed, and we're adapting to some of those changes. So I know for some of people that are not as familiar with AI or still very new to AI, one of the things to keep in mind is that kind of AI has been around the technology of AI. What we've recently seen in the more recent year and about the last year or so where it was the generative AI that we are kind of seeing a little bit more of. But in the search engines that you have been using, and if you're using Google Maps or Waze, they are integrated AI technology
Mm,
within them.
yeah.
I don't know for yourself, but for myself, I know when I'm looking at watching TV shows, it prompts with, "Oh, you might like this because you have watched this." So there is some AI
Yeah.
generating things in there, and even if in my household I'm talking about something and then all of a sudden I start to get searches relevant to that particular topic on my
Yeah.
device, right? So we
Yeah,
definitely have this around us, and we have been
absolutely.
using some of the technologies around AI, and so you may have some experience with this, and I know I see in the chat some of you are jumping in and how you would like to use it or where you're currently using it at. And I know somebody mentioned differentiated levels of text for students. That's a great use of using AI for your students. And in the last session that I was with Jen Giffen, she talked about Diffit, which was another tool that you can use to differentiate text. You could do it in Copilot as well, but just for you to have another option. So, what is generative AI? It is a sub branch of artificial intelligence that can generate new content. So, it can generate text, it can generate images, it can generate videos and code. We're not going to get to some of the more advanced uses of AI today, like generating code, but you can definitely, if that's something of interest to you, you can do that. Some people also I wonder, how does it generate this conversation? So it has learned to understand human language. So when you're putting in prompts to it, it responds to you with specific responses to it. So that's why some people do tend to have conversations, and you can have a back and forth conversation because it kind of understands that context, and it has built-in predictions and built-in data, and then it uses the patterns to be able to spit that information back out to you ideally. And that's kind of just like the in a simplified version of talking about and understanding generative AI. I'm sure it's a little bit more complex than that, but that I feel like as we are where we are right now, that's pretty much really in for enough information for us to do. So what is Copilot then? Copilot is a large language model. So I think the first one that did come out was ChatGPT. So they are all considered large language models. Gemini is Google's version. Copilot is Microsoft's version. So today I'm going to be showing you things on Copilot. But if you don't have access or you are more familiar with using another language model, feel free to use that. Sometimes people just call them chatbots. But the more official term for it is a large language model. And as I mentioned, that it has data sources and predictions. So it's mathematical algorithms that are it's trained on producing those responses to you. And currently, Copilot is using the latest AI models like GPT-4 and DALI E3. So you do get the latest information on using Copilot. And I know for some of you, you might be curious to know if it provides sources. So if that's something that you're looking to see, where is that information coming from? And if you're using it for searching, then you can also ask it to provide you with sources. So we're going to do a little bit of that today, but mostly we're going to focus on the prompt generation that you can do within Copilot. So this is a really, really big thing right now is just ensuring our responsible use of AI. So I do want to touch upon this. And if you are starting to use this with your students, it's important to think about this and talk about this with your students as well, because there are so many things that we need to be mindful of. One, it could be misinformation. So it is our responsibility as educators and as our students' responsibility for us to teach students how to decipher what is real and what is fake. So to have a better understanding of the misinformation that we could have access to. So not everything that you put into Copilot is accurate, so we can't believe that, but that's in any particular source, right? In anything that you're using and anything that you're searching, we also have to verify information. So that's one of the critical thinking skills that we can use to verify that information. I have seen the bias within AI, so that's another consideration. There's language biases, there's cultural biases. I know another educator was telling me that they were putting information into AI to grade student work, and I don't think this is something that I would do. But I would definitely say that that person, when they shared their experience, they put in an assignment with a name, Eurocentric name, and it received a grade that was higher than the same assignment with an ethical name that went into
Mm,
AI.
wow.
So we need to be very mindful of what that is doing and the impact that may have for our students. So
Yeah.
throughout today's lessons, as we're creating things, as we're putting prompts in, as we're having this discussion around it, just to be critically thinking about whatever you receive, we have to review what we're receiving and we have to make decisions on what we want to use and then um, amend and modify things, right? There's still a lot of conversation around intellectual property. I don't think there's a clear
Yeah.
answer yet on generated content, for one, the copyright within that. So there is still kind of some gray shaded area. And some people would say it's generate because it's new, it's generating. It's AI generated content. Can I copyright it? Right. So these types of conversations are conversations that we're still in those gray shade area. I don't think there is one answer that I can tell you today that's a definite answer. So that's just something we have to continuously think about. And then there's also the idea of if I'm putting in text that's not my own text, and then I'm asking it to modify what are the copyright laws around that. So these are, again, things that I just want to bring to your attention because it's something that we're going to see more and more of come out in terms of um, policies or procedures. So you want to always refer back to your own district
Mm,
policy
yeah.
on things like that. Academic integrity, that's one of the fears that a lot of educators in our school board are not, I wouldn't say a lot, but some, I shouldn't say a lot because I can't generalize, but some people are very fearful of the academic dishonesty or integrity. So really thinking about the shift of assessment practices with that and how we can leverage AI to benefit students, and how we can shift in our own assessment practices and what we're looking for to not necessarily have students just produce things on AI, but they can use their information. Then also thinking about the process that the students work that they're doing versus the product. Then you'll also see their privacy concerns. So just to be mindful of that, whether or not there's equitable access to AI technology. So a lot of things that you could think about. Impersonation, right? So it has the capability of taking my voice and then now putting and translating my voice into something else. So that's something that be careful of, and then just the resources. Um, so yeah, I know you can't click on that link. Sorry about that. The link, I think somebody
Yeah.
mentioned if you can click on it. Oh, I think you're asking if you could click on
Yeah,
the
that's
link.
right. Yeah, Maureen, let me know if you could click on that and if it's clickable because we're having some problems with that today.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Thank you.
Dennis, for providing the links. There's not going to be a whole lot of links, so if that's just the one you're going to have to copy and paste in. I'm one of the sessions that doesn't have a lot of links because we're just using Copilot throughout
Yeah,
today's
that's
session.
awesome.
So it's going to be the easiest one that has the least amount of links. So AI and the possibilities of AI in education and what you can do. This comes directly from Microsoft, right? You can find information, you can create information, you can enhance some of your information. I know somebody mentioned that they were differentiating level text for their students, so you could personalize learning. So we're going to play with some of these items today, and then also going to give you the tools that you can continue to play with after today. So getting to know Copilot. So this is probably the second link that you're going to receive today. It's just going into Copilot. So Dennis will drop in the
Yep.
direct link into the chat, and it is copilot.microsoft.com. Or if you're in my slide deck and you just click on the image, you should get to the access of the Copilot directly. You may have to sign in into your district account to have the full access. If you don't have district licenses or accounts at this point, you can use Copilot, but you will not be able to do everything. There is a free or like not free, but an entry level version. But if you're having challenges with Copilot, feel free to try to use ChatGPT or Gemini with some of the things that we're going to play today. But I'm going to be playing in specifically Copilot, just where that's the selected AI tool that we're using in my school district board. So
Mhm.
what you should see on my screen is what it looks like when you go into Copilot. If you're using a Windows 11 Microsoft Edge, it might look a little bit different. If you're using the chat in your browser, that might also look a little bit different. I'm just using the cloud Microsoft version of it. So that's what you're going to see when you go in. It already prompts you with types of things that you can do, but we're going to try to do some things on ourselves. So what you'll also see in my slide deck, that gave you an example of just a random prompt that I put in. And I've just put this in there just to, like, an entry level sentence. I've just put the sky is, and then I put dot, dot, dot. The response, what you see on the screen, is what AI generated from that particular prompt. One of the things that you will notice that it engaged me in a conversation, like, what do you find most captivating about this? But you also probably notice that if you tried this, you might get a different response. It doesn't always produce the same responses each time that you put things in. And if I wanted it to, like, go deeper on something, I can ask a follow-up question. So that's what we're going to do a little bit of right now, is that we're going to go in and I'm going to give you some activities, and then I'm going to show you something, and then I'm going to give you time to try that activity on your own. So the first one that we're going to do is just simplistic. We're not going to do if you went to another session today, I know there was one on generating very specific prompts. We're going to get to that.
Mhm.
But for now, we're just going to do a very simplistic search. And we're going to do a brainstorm where, if you wanted to find new ideas for an activities, if you wanted to plan for book displays, or if you wanted specific recommendations for activities, just want you to put in to Copilot a very simple sentence to provide some things just for you to see what it looks like. And then we're going to learn that as you more go into it, the more specific you are, the more activities or the more things that you would get that are personalized for your students or for the class that you're in. So I'm going to do a quick demo now, and this is where I'm going to go to Copilot. So I'm going to ask Copilot to provide me with a list. So it likes actionable words, and I'm working with my daughter on learning verbs. So it likes those verbs. So list some activities that I can do with students in December. Okay, so I could keep it as simple as that. If I wanted just to, remember, we're just doing some brainstorming. I wanted some simple activities that I want to do with my students in December. This is where I want to show you some of the bias that it has. Look at all majority of the activities that come up on that particular screen are holiday related activities, right? So maybe that's not what I was asking for. Maybe I needed to be a little bit more specific, because again, I don't want to just go in and do things that are relative to one specific cultural area or one specific holiday or celebration. It does provide, I think it provides one or two types of holidays, but maybe I want to be a little bit more specific on what I'm looking for. Can you suggest activities that are relevant for a history class? And maybe I want to put the grade. So maybe I want to say grade 10 history class that I could do in December that would be fun and engaging. Okay, so again, I'm getting a little bit more specific on types of things that I might be able to do with my students. And I'm just thinking of, like, if I just needed some ideas, right before the break, maybe we have a couple of weeks in there that we're in transition, or we're moving from one assignment to another assignment. So I might want some ideas for that. And that's one way in which you can have it brainstorm ideas for you. And it's great to have a conversation, right? So I really like this field trip one. And it says you can organize virtually or in person things. So I might ask a follow-up question about field trips. Can you provide more examples of types of field trips that I can... my typing is, like, not as fast, and I have a lot of typos. So, be bear with me, that I can explore virtually with grade 10 students, right? Maybe it's not feasible. December's, right around the corner, and it's not feasible for me to, like, plan a in-person field trip at this point. But maybe I can do a virtual field trip with them before So it gives me some options of some examples of things that I can explore with my students. And like Dennis and I, we mentioned that we're in Canada, so maybe I also want more Canadian examples. Narrow down to Canadian locations, right? So that might help allow for my search to become, and you'll see now I notice and recognize some of these places, and then maybe I can
Yeah, very good.
arrange, some virtual field trips or virtual connections with one of the places on my list. So this just gives you an idea of, I don't know if anybody has been that person that, I need to plan something for my students and I just don't know what to plan. Allows you to have somebody that you can have an informal conversation with. That's, not, it's a behind a chat box, but you can communicate with somebody of finding some of those examples and have that part of something that you would like to communicate with them. So I'm going to put up my slide deck now because I'm going to give you some time to try, because I think one of the fun things is just to see like what comes up. And you don't have to put, like, I know in my example that I showed you previously, like I put some examples that are, a lot of them are school education related. But just if you're really new to Copilot, I would even just go put in things around, the sky is, and see what kind of responses you get. Um, I know that's built. You're building a trust with AI and Copilot. So if you're not ready to get to the school related connections, you can put something else in. In the last session that I was in, Jen talks about mindfulness in the learning commons area. So if I was just curious of ways to be more mindful with my students, I might want to put that in as an initial prompt. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to play around and to put a prompt in. And then as you're doing this, and for some of us that may be newer to using AI, I also want you to think about, like, how is AI searching compared to like a website search, right? Like why would I use AI? Why can't I just go into Google or Microsoft Edge and do a search there? So I just want you to think about some of those things as we're working through this. Oh, you're welcome. I hope you're enjoying the session and it's been useful so far. And feel free to tell me what you're searching, because I'm very curious. Dennis and I are very curious
Yeah,
to know
absolutely.
what was your first search, or what are you looking
Yeah.
for? Dennis,
If
did
you're
you search
wondering what
something?
I did, I went into Copilot just to be out, make sure everybody knows I'm more of a Google Gemini guy. So I'm fairly new to Copilot. I have been using it, but I enjoy it and I've been working with it. But because we had tailbots, we just ordered some tailbots and I haven't really got them in the classroom yet. I was wondering what I could do with grade 3 students. So I said, I think where was it? Provide me with a list of activity using tailbots in grade 3. And it gave me probably, I think, 8. And it had science experiments, geography lessons, art projects, all sorts of different things. I'm not familiar with tailbots, but apparently they have language. You can change the language on them, and there's lots of neat things with it. So now if I want to be a little bit more specific, I could say Manitoba grade 3 science curriculum, for example, and it would go and pull that stuff out. But anyway, it was kind of fun to check that out.
Yeah, that's cool. I was playing around with microbits for STEM challenges. So if that'd be probably something that I would definitely probably search, because
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know enough about microbits, and I know micro bits, the makerspace website has some examples of activities that you can do with your students, but I think I would need some more support, so I would
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
search that and connecting it to the curricular area. So that's a great point, Dennis, because it doesn't know what your curricular area is unless we tell it. It's
Yep.
still, I would say, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate. I have put in things around like Ontario curriculum or Ontario curricular areas and things like that. And it's been, I get some stuff, but I also am not sure if it's as specific.
I'm wondering, I can't remember if Copilot can actually access links if you put the links of the curriculum into the
It
prompt.
does, yeah. It
Yeah.
can, it
Okay.
can, it can.
Perfect.
You can do that. You can say like
Okay.
read this article, read this
Okay.
document,
Perfect.
and it definitely can do that as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome because then it'll give you more specifics, I'm sure.
So as I mentioned, the responsible use of AI. So every time I'm going to demo anything, I would like you to just think critically about the responses that you receive. Think about the biases, think about it in the information. I know we're just generating ideas here, so you might not get inaccurate information. But you remember when I initially first searched within my thing and I put December, I got a lot of holiday types of activities, right? But in truthfulness, I didn't put a very specific prompt in, right? Like I just had lists of activities I could do in December. So yeah, definitely could do some of these activities. But if I wanted to be more culturally responsive to my students and to the demographic, or if I wanted to make more curricular connections, I needed to actually ask, for specific, right? Teaching grade 10 history, can I have fun and exciting activities, which I did. And then, I want to go into a little bit more deeper around the exploration of virtual field trips. So we need to review our responses and we need to be very mindful of the things that we're then bringing into our classrooms with our students. So I just want you to, as we go through today, just to think about that and then think about how you can change or reiterate, right? Like what do you need to further ask it for to be able to go, oh, great, thank you. Yeah, Maureen mentioned that they does have access to the curricular and growing success documents. So that's wonderful. Um,
Wow.
and then somebody said they did a virtual lesson with an art gallery of Ontario this week, and they're
Yeah.
with my class. So tried a prompt to create a lesson plan for the artist's study that included images of her art pieces, and it worked well.
Mm.
This is wonderful. This is one thing that I love about this is that we can share some of these examples with each other and learn ways in which we could create stuff for our students. So this is what we're going to do next. Is we're going to get into a
All right.
little bit more deeper with crafting good prompts. There's a lot of different types of generated prompt types of structures that are used out there. ChatGPT has them. Also, our Gemini has their own version. So I'm specifically looking at Copilot's version that they talk about in their educator resources. I will later in the session, or if you see jump down in today's session, there are links to the Microsoft training modules, which are great. So Microsoft, and I'm saying Copilot encourages this, but they all encourage this, right? So when we want to get good content or we want to have responses that are valuable for us, we need to be really clear on the objectives. We need to be very specific. You want to structure the prompt. You might want to also combine the expertise, right? Like for it to know that, that this is for education, this is for students. Using a polite tone. I know somebody laughed about that. Like, wouldn't you? And I was like, just a reminder. You know, like, please and thank you. And I started doing
Use
that
your
more with
manners.
Copilot, and I feel like it just made it a little bit more um, things. And then also being able to iterate and refine, right? So then you get something, and then you have it iterate, and you have it refined for you is super useful. Somebody's mentioning that some platforms or some models provide more specifics. Yeah, so I guess it really depends. Like I know our school board has chosen to use Copilot because of the protection that it has, the privacy protection and the data protection, so that the information that I'm inputting is not saved anywhere into the cloud or things like that. So yeah. Oh, okay. Somebody else also added that too. So yeah. So it depending, and that's why I feel like there is yeah, it's within the education domain. But I know some people prefer, and I've heard. I know you mentioned Gemini, but I also heard that some people prefer ChatGPT. But I also know that ChatGPT has a free version and then a paid version, and I know that the paid version has better output from it as well. So here are some, again, if you're just looking for quick, if you are using this with your educators or your staff at your school, or you're using it with students, if you want to use like a graphic of being able to provide very specific prompts to get better answers from Microsoft Copilot. These are two that I found in their training modules, right? So again, specific instructions, detail, what audience or viewpoint, definitely specify the length. I have put in things before and I've gotten pages of responses, and it's too much then for you to read and sift through, right? So you want to be maybe even asking like for it to write it in, like I sometimes say 10 activities or 10 points, or provide it in a paragraph. So that is definitely useful to specify the length that you would look for, and then even the outline. So if you're creating rubrics, you want it in like chart format, if you want it in outline format, or if you want it in a table, to specify that is helpful within Copilot to be able to do that. So I just threw those in there for you just so you can see and play around with them. And then I also put in an element of a good prompt, so just so you can see one that has been drafted. So we're just going to demo it and go in to Copilot again. And this time I'd like to, write a story. No, actually, I don't want to write a story. I want to do a lesson plan. So I'm going to ask Copilot to create a lesson plan with specific learning objectives for grade 10 Ontario curriculum. A lesson plan include activities, questions, and assessment ideas. Okay, so again, it's not as specific as I'm just demoing here, so I want to make sure just also provide the time frame. So here, asked it to provide a detailed lesson plan for grade 10, and then I received a lesson plan with some, if I scroll back up here, learning objectives, the material that I may need. Also, the topic that it selected was Canadian Confederation, which I actually believe is in the grade 8 curriculum, grade 7 or 8 curriculum. So that I might have to refine more specifically on a topic, but I did get some assessment ideas and I did get some questions, and then I also got a variety of different activities that I could use with students. So that's just kind of like an intro, right? So looking at the efficiency of being able to just simplify some information and be able to create a lesson plan that I could use with my students. So I'm going to give you time now to think about something that you want to do in this week or next week, a lesson plan, or just simply an activity, and practice writing a prompt that follows the suggestions, right? So include, clear objectives, be very specific, probably a little bit more specific than I was with grade 10 Ontario curriculum. And then also maybe provide like what you're looking for it to do. So I wanted activities. I also wanted assessment ideas, and I wanted questions, because I like when it pre-populates some of those inquiry questions for me. And then of course, I'm not going to use everything that it populates for me. I'm going to modify and I'm going to reiterate, or I'm going to refine my search. But I want to give you some time to play. And I like that there's a very busy chat. So I'm going to take a moment to read the chat, but I also like you to share with us ways in which what you put in, or what you have created, or if you have a really good lesson idea that you got from Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT that you like. Yeah, so sometimes you don't even use what you create, right? So that's somebody mentioned that it's just a great lesson to have on hand.
I hear the term, and I use it quite often too. The 80-20 principle. Have Gemini or Copilot create 80 or use 80% of what they're doing, and then you go in there and make your little adjustments. Because sometimes there's so much stuff in there you need to shorten it. I like using the word "please shorten," and the use polite tone. It's funny that we say please and thank you and sorry, but that sure didn't work, or something like that. Could you try that again, please? And that's always nice. I don't know why that's so important, but
Mhm.
In my mind, it's nice to be polite to any kind of AI program. They
Yeah,
may
for
take over the
sure.
world, so you want to be nice. You want to be nice to them. Yeah.
Especially because it's listening to you, right? And listening to everything
Right
you
now. Yeah,
say.
exactly.
It's good to
I
know
was
about
thinking,
Gemini with a school account. Somebody mentioned that, so thank you for
yeah,
mentioning that as well. I'm not sure why my board we are a Google board, but then we use Copilot for AI, so I'm not sure why they did
yeah,
that.
it's interesting.
Um, but it is definitely interesting.
And it looks like Gemini, from what I heard just from Google the other day, that they're looking at creating a 13 plus friendly AI product. So it can only it will recognize that you are a student account, you have a student account, and it'll adjust the output depending on the type of account you have. So that's it's in the works. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently it's coming out.
Yeah,
And
it'd
Robert
be
mentioned
great
too.
to sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, Shayla.
Yeah, I said it'd be great to also teach students how to use AI as well, right? The
Yeah.
critically and to put input and prompts and so yeah.
And Robert mentioned too, Gemini with a school account doesn't collect data or train their model. That's very true.
Mhm. Yeah.
I do want to
Robert's
mention in, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say
I,
Robert mentioned that he's gonna share the link, that they already started that rollout.
oh,
Yeah, it's good to know.
thank you, Robert. Yeah, I know they've been talking about it. It's not in our school division yet. I do know in Manitoba we have. I'm just going to throw this in the. This is for. See if it pops up there. Hopefully you can see that. In Manitoba, we have done codebreaker.edu. It's a chat bot that you don't have to sign in, and it's designed for kids. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't. You don't have to sign in. It doesn't collect anything. It doesn't train any models with their information that they add in there. So it's a nice way to get kids connected to AI. And I don't know if it's available in any other province, but we have this available in Manitoba right now, free of charge.
Thanks. Awesome. Thanks so much.
And I have no idea if there's any Manitobans out here. If you are from Manitoba, just give me a shout out, because I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing,
yeah.
a great resource for individuals. I didn't see anybody share what they put into Copilot and if they generated any lesson plan, but I also do acknowledge that we're a little bit of a delay from the chat. So
Right.
feel free to continue to share because we like to read, and it also just helps us build a very extensive list of strategies. So I'm going to invite you again to think critically about, your lesson plan and your activity. Just again, consider if there's anything that you would like it to prompt to do something differently. You can use that time to iterate and refine your searches there as well. But just also wanted to move ahead. One of the things that Copilot can do as well, which we have shared that other platforms can do too, is differentiate the learning experiences for your students. Somebody already mentioned that they have provided text, and then they get different reading levels on the specific same topic. I also know that some individuals sometimes translate portions of their languages if they're working with students. Multi-language learners in their classrooms, that they translate some of their text. We also know we want our multi-language learners to learn English, so we don't want to translate the whole text, but sometimes it's helpful just to translate portions of the text to help them be able to understand the document and to be able to work with the same resources that you're working with in the class. But you can also ask AI to provide individualized lesson plans for your students, and also ask them to provide range of activities. So one of the ones that I'm going to demo here, the first one today here, is to look at ways in which you can personalize that learning for your students. So I'm just going to, for this one, I actually just prepared a prompt just to make it easier in the demo, not to type out a long enough specific prompt. And I also think that for my prompt that I'm going to be using, it probably could be a little bit more specific. And I also love that there's a lot of these things that you could find, because you can ask AI to help you provide a more specific prompt. I don't know if anybody has done that, but
Yeah.
I have done that for sure. As I've said, like, I need to do this, and this. Could you like tell me how to ask like better, right? And it does, and it provides a prompt for you.
That's great. I like that.
Um,
I like that idea.
yeah, so it's a lot of it makes a lot of fun, right? So,
Yeah.
in AI, as you noticed, because I talked about grade 10, so it already kind of stuck to the grade 10, but I specifically asked for like more detailed resources, and I also put some of the accommodations or learning skills that I was looking for. So I was looking for like more visual. I was looking for auditory. I was looking for kinesthetic. Depending on the
Oh yeah.
learners
Nice.
and students within your class, don't ever put any identifiable or student information. So you're not going to ever say like this person has this particular IAP. We don't put that into for privacy reasons and not sharing out data of our students, but you can put the gist of what you're looking for, what's specific, right? So I really need more visual examples. I really need I have students that have this particular challenge. Can you provide this for that for them? So definitely useful and valuable to differentiate and really personalize your learning for your students, and some great stuff here, right? And it also provides, ways in which I can accommodate, or I can differentiate my instruction and my assessment strategies. So I think that is super useful that you have that there and available for you.
Mhm.
So again, I'm going to invite some opportunity for you to play. I really wanted you to have a lot of time to play with using it. So try one of the following prompts. And then again, if you feel comfortable, please share in the chat what you provided and what's something that you might want to use. And then I see all the chat going that I kind of just want to read some of the things that people are writing in the chat. So I'm just going to take a look at that. So it could be awesome for students to ask AI to rewrite and clarify handwriting notes made by students with a photo of these notes. The simplicity of those things, and to help our students, it would be helpful. Somebody said they put a grade 4 lesson plan for 13 moons on Turtle's Back
Mm.
using Ontario grade 4 curriculum that is engaging and allows for differentiation from grade 2 to 4 reading levels, include video
Nice.
sources. So very specific, right?
Yes.
And
Like
it
it.
also
Got it.
created a 5 day breakdown of lessons based on the book. Somebody asked that in a previous the session that it was in. They were doing forced reading, and if you're not familiar with, in Ontario, we have forced reading novels that we read. I think it's Canada wide actually, for libraries, and they were asking if they asked like a book title and asked for activities, would they get that? And the ones that I have tried, I have put in books and titles of books, and then asked for activities or strategies to teach them of that, and it has. So a good tool for AI for creating images with text. There's Microsoft Designer, which is one of their AI tools that you can use to generate images. You can also generate images in Copilot, which is going to be one of the next examples that I show you. I haven't tried it with text though. I haven't asked it to
Mm.
generate images with the text, but I put in a prompt and the type of image that I want, and it generates that image for me. And I know Microsoft Designer is the Microsoft version. I'm sure there's many other AI
Yeah.
tools for creating images. So maybe Dennis can throw one in the chat for you.
Yeah, the Gemini does too, and Canva. If you have a teacher, well, I think even without a teacher account, Canva will create some imaging with text available. It is kind of weird. Sometimes it comes in weird and looks weird, but they're constantly changing and making it better. So just keep trying it and working on it. So
Mhm.
yes, it's in there. But I'm looking forward to see how Copilot generates images with text, if it
Mhm.
does generate images with text.
It
Yep.
does. And in my last session, we did do Canva, and Canva has an integrated AI feature, Magic Design.
That's it.
So if you
Yes, thank
wanted
you.
to pull up Magic Design, it would probably do that for you, and it's integrated. And if you have the education account, it's free. So let me just pull up that for you while you're trying this thing, because I was just in that last session and Jen
Yeah.
talked about it. Yeah, and the forced reading thing was like, it's mind blowing, right? And Jen was even showing that you can have, put in a video and it creates activities based on a video with Diffit. So I will share Diffit as well because it's really good for different text as well. So just in case, I know you have access to watch all of the sessions from today and to be able to. But that was Diffit. Diffit does that as well, and it's really cool. And it's also, if you have your education account, it's currently free to use. I am a bit worried that some of these tools that are free to use are going to become behind paid walls, but for now, we are free to use. Yeah, so Canva for Education is available for all teachers, and you can create classes so that it's also available for your students. So it's pretty amazing. So definitely check that out.
I do know in Manitoba, or well, in our school division with Canva, I think I mentioned this in your session with Jen, is that we were able to connect with Canva and get our school division access to Canva and our teachers all had accounts and they could connect their students and so on. So it was a really good way to do it. Canva is really trying hard to get education professionals hooked in with them, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that again as well. So we're going to move along. So again, if you produced anything that you want to share or differentiated any learning for your students or personalized any learning, feel free to share that in the chat. A lot of great ideas that are coming through. So another example, you can create images in Microsoft Copilot directly. So again, you want to be very specific on like what you're looking to create, right? So you wanted to create, like if you just put create an image, you will get an image on the topic that you put in. But if you describe using adjectives or you describe the type of format you want it to be in, you can do that as well. And you can also add your own image and then ask it questions related to your particular image. So it's very cool on the types of things that you can do with Copilot. And I'm sure you can do this with some of the other ones as well that you've created. So over here in that, I'm just looking at time. So I'm just going to kind of have you play with it if you already have your Copilot open. But, think about a task that you might need an image for. It can be for newsletters, it can be for student activity, it could be for a presentation, and then ask it to generate for you. So the one that I did was create an image, and this comes from one of Copilot's modules that I went through. Create an image of a blue panda bear wearing sunglasses on the beach, digital art format. So I thought it was really cool that it came up, and so many things that you can have to be able to create and to put that into your particular thing. So while you're doing it, I'm going to do it as well. I'm just going to put create an image of a sunny day on the beach in cartoon format. Okay, and then you'll notice that like when you put it in, sometimes it takes a few minutes. So depending on what you've asked it to do, it can take a few minutes. It does connect directly to Microsoft Designer, which you'll see there, but you can also go to Microsoft Designer as well. So it created, it had included, and I didn't say all of this, right? But it just said sunny day on the beach in cartoon format. But it included birds and the sun and clouds and all kinds of activities. It's actually a really cool picture. So I'm pretty impressed with what I have based on that.
Good, yeah.
I think the VAS report for Diffit is actually really good because it's approved in our school board, and we have a very intense VAS reporting that we have to follow. So definitely check it out because I think you'll be pleased with that, and students are using it as well. So I'm going to move on to the rest of the session because time goes by so much fast when you're having so much fun, and it just flies by.
Way too fast.
Way too fast. So with images as well, again, really think critically about the image, the biases that could incur into those images. We don't want to use anything that we create harm for our students in the classroom. So don't just take things and use them. We have to have a professional judgment with anything that is created and be mindful of that. And I have seen images that has created that have caused harm. So, and just that's why I always bring things up that I really want you to be mindful of and critical about when you receive that. So currently in our school board, our students don't have access to AI, like one specific AI tool. They do have access to like Canva and some other tools that have integrations of AI, but not, we don't have like right now access for like a large language model for them. So things that our educators are like, we still want to talk about it, right? Because we know kids are still going home and still using some of these tools at home. And we think that, by talking about it, by having conversations around it, that it could be helpful for our students, right? Because we can teach them how to use it and how to use it more effectively. So one student activity that some educators have found to be useful is that they've created some exemplars for their students and they've asked their students to review them. So they may have used AI to generate them, or they might have ones that they've generated on their own, and then they ask students to review them and to look at them, right? And that by doing that, for this particular case in exemplars, you're having the students critique those particular exemplars. What works well? What didn't work well? What did you find in the information? What was missing from the information? And you could tell them it's AI generated, or you can also wait till they do the activity and then tell them, right? Like, were they able to identify that the tone was different or the language that was used was different than another piece? It could be useful to co-create success criteria for an assignment, right? Based on these exemplars, right? So now that you've reviewed this, like, let's talk about what criteria would you like to see in this particular assignment? So that could be a way which you can talk about with your students. I know, like, doing scenarios. I don't know if anybody has ever been in that position to create multiple scenarios to use in my class for like debates and like conversations. Can be a lot of like thinking, a lot of like I do like a lot of work, right? So not that I don't mind doing the work. I like doing the work, but having a critical friend like my AI friend here to help with that, it is super helpful, right? So creating some of those scenarios and maybe even talking about some of those scenarios with your students. I like to talk about multiple perspectives in my class. So just thinking of ways in which you might be able to have conversations with your students. If they don't have a specific tool that you can promote them using in the classroom, this could be like a good student activity that you can do with them. You can feel free to share. I know I put that on the slide as well. Share in the chat if there's anything that you would like to do. And then I also had some other examples of things that you might want to create, like debate topics, inquiry questions, social inclusion prompts that you might be wanting to use with your students. Those would be great things to be able to include into your slide decks as well. So we went through a lot of different examples today. We learned a lot from each other from the chat, which is one of the things I absolutely love about these particular sessions, because I don't feel like myself I'm the expert in any particular topic. And even if I thought I was an expert, definitely not in AI, because it's changing every single day. And it's always it's always evolving, right? So I did a couple of these modules actually to help me to have use of using these particular tools with my educators that I work with and students within my school board. So also want to provide them for you. Like, they have little modules that are set up. They're very quick and easy. They walk you through like different prompts, walk you through different ideas. So there are 4 there that are available for you. So you can just click on them. It takes you directly to them. And you can always learn more about, Microsoft and Copilot, and learn more about some of the things that are available to you. And then I'm going to pass it back to Dennis to talk about the last few slides for you.
All right, so we mentioned this earlier in this session that we have co-taught lessons coming up in December 9th to 13th, and you can see the link there to register for that. Feel free to do that. what's the next slide there? Oh, yes. If you have any questions, please, or do you have any? Well, we don't have much time to answer questions right now, but you can put in feedback. There it is. Thank you. There's a support email that you can access, events@logixacademy.com. There's always somebody on the other side of that email if you have any questions. And we also have a feedback form that we'd like you to fill out. I'll pop that in the chat as well. Phil, please take some time to fill out that feedback form and let us know how we did, or if you have any suggestions on other topics that we could talk to you about or train with. And I think that's it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Hopefully you had a good summit. And remember, you can always go back and check out all the links and recordings that are available. I think there's 15 sessions out there. So it's gonna take a couple of weeks to get through all that stuff. But enjoy. And thanks again for joining us. And on behalf of Shyla and I, thanks for coming and joining us today. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.